Hello, hope y'all are all doing very well. It's February 28th, and today I'm back. So today I'm going to be talking about multiple things. I'm going to start off by talking about severe weather. We have a pretty significant severe weather event likely over the next couple of days, especially for this time of year. Looking at a multi-day severe weather event, pretty much starting tomorrow and lasting all the way to Friday. Then we're going to be talking about I'm going to be talking about the winter weather side of things, because we're going to be looking at a potentially significant winter storm in some areas from this as well. I hope you're all doing very well tonight. It is Tuesday. And let's go and get started. So this is our day 2 convective outlook. This is valid from 12Z tomorrow morning until 12Z on Thursday morning. So we can see we have a slight risk from areas of northeastern Texas right there over into areas of Tennessee. And a marginal risk all the way from like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, even west that area, all the way over to western North Carolina. So pretty long marginal risk as well right there. There's 4 million people in the slight risk and 16 million people, it appears, in that marginal risk. Let's go ahead and talk about tomorrow. First off, we take a look at our tornado threat. We have a 5% tornado risk from areas of Texas over into northern Mississippi. Wind threat, we have a large 15% risk that pretty much expands the entire slight risk, it appears. Hail threat, we have a 15 sig risk in southern Arkansas. So that's what I want to focus on for tomorrow, is because that hail threat looks kind of pretty interesting, because we have that that hatch risk and stuff. So we're on pivotal weather here. We can see tomorrow what the pivotal weather indicates storm wise. So 21Z tomorrow. This would be 3 p.m. We're starting to look at some hailers in the southwestern Arkansas area, just some stronger storms. Don't really want to focus on I didn't really want to define it. They're hailers because we don't know that, because just by looking at reflectivity on the HRRR model, it doesn't prove anything. We're just kind of getting an idea of what could potentially happen. And then as we get later into the evening, those storms just continue across southern Arkansas. And then we even see more storms initiate further north at around 7 p.m. Like in areas of southern Illinois, right along, like in northern Kentucky, even into Ohio. So taking some soundings, okay? Let's go out to tomorrow morning here. So I want to take a sounding or not tomorrow morning, it's actually tomorrow afternoon, but southern Arkansas, 21Z, 6 p.m. or 3 p.m. tomorrow, Central Time. That's contaminated, so let's try to get another one. This will do. Okay, so we have shear. We have practically our shear is very limited. There's pretty much it's like absolutely no directional shear with this, it appears, but yeah, so there's also hardly any changes in, I guess, wind speeds as you go up, or wind velocities. Instability though, is pretty good, 1500 a cape, almost 2000 surface base cape, or 2000 surface base cape. Some things here to kind of know. We have pretty decent D cape values there. Hardly any capping. LCL is surface-based sounding here. And then our lapses, that's what I want to focus on now. So our lapses, we have surface of 3 kilometer, kind of 6.6 lapses, 850 to 500, 6.6, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 is 7.4. So our lapses are pretty decent tomorrow. It's going to be leading to that greater hail potential with some of these storms. And then later into the day, 4 p.m. here, take a sounding, and practically the same area. You can still see it's extremely similar in regards to most stuff there. And then these storms by 01Z, I just want to take soundings from along in front of this line. So this sounding here, that is okay. Yeah, so it is. That's an interesting sounding, to say the least. I really don't see how we're getting storms out of that. The only thing I can think is they're just driven by the upper levels. Look at the shear profiles. Everything's not that bad. It's just we have practically no instability. Our lapses aren't that bad though, so that's kind of leading to it. I think is that it's just a shear. But how are we getting storms though in that environment? There's no moisture. Let's take a look at dew points. Oh wow, dudes, in the how does it rush in so quickly? Okay, yeah, so where I took this sounding, you were kind of in it, there was kind of a dry pocket. So if we go to O3Z. We take a sounding hopefully in front of the line. Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, so we could be looking at some storms up there as well. Although I do doubt that they're going to be too severe or too strong at all. I don't think we're going to see strong storms. But I definitely can see the threat for things like hail. And even into like northern Alabama and stuff, we still see, a little bit of a severe weather threat for sure. Although I do think our hail threat will go down. Our max tornado threat, I think, is going to kind of be in this area. Oh yeah, so that's tomorrow. Now talking about day 3. So day 3 is expected to be bigger. We can see we have a very large enhanced risk that includes a lot of northeast Texas, like all the way down in the southeast Texas. We can see some areas are in that enhanced risk, and it extends all the way almost to the Mississippi-Alabama border. Slight risk all the way from like central Texas over into northwestern Georgia. So yeah, very large area with under the threat on day 3. So that is Thursday. So let's go ahead and see. So we want to view kind of that main area right there. So this sector here should do, yeah. So we can see those hailers tomorrow. Actually, yeah. That's still interesting. Now this is tomorrow, by the way, not Thursday, but yeah, I can see why you're getting hail out of that. Okay, so by 16Z Thursday, we're already looking at storms going off in some of these areas. And the thing that's interesting about Thursday is we don't exactly have like this is not really a cold front. I don't really know how to put this. This is a different event than what we've had recently, though. We're looking at almost like a warm front setup Thursday, and then already like mixed layer cape at this time Thursday. This is 16Z, so keep in mind this is like 10 a.m. We're already looking at like ML mixed layer cape values and like almost up to 1,000 in some of these areas. And when we go ahead and take soundings, I'm curious. What are these? Okay, yeah, the shear profiles are garbage. Okay, but other than that, this is a good sounding for severe weather. Especially like just, not even really severe. It's a good sounding for just like gusty winds. But let's go back to the 18 as he goes out slightly further. A lot has changed. How has so much changed? A lot has changed between the last two. This HRRR run and the last one. So that's a lot to see if that is the start of a new trend tomorrow. But this generally looks, yeah, we can definitely see later in the day. Look at that. Shear profile is good. We have 200 SRH. The photograph looks decent. Looks like a 5 Tor in my opinion. I think that was in that area way up there. So up in Arkansas, which is kind of on the northern side of the enhanced risk, which I do think we could see a higher tornado threat like right along the warm front. Absolutely, that's what we see a lot. And over to M3 since it goes out further. 21Z we're looking at. So this would be 3 p.m. here. We're looking at like a dry line, I'm guessing right here. We have our low back over to the Texas Panhandle, a dry line or cold front. And then our warm front's just kind of stretched out across this area here. Now this area here automatically kind of pops out. This is interesting. Okay. So the sounding is great for things like, you get some damaging wind out of this, but I don't think it'd be too big of a deal. I mean, the sounding's really just, hail would be the biggest threat. You wouldn't really, I don't think you're going to see a tornado with that photograph. I don't know, though, but that doesn't look that good. Although, I don't think that's what we're actually going to be looking at environment-wise. This is kind of something the models aren't doing a good job depicting, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, pretty much everywhere you look, the soundings are just messed up. We take a look at SB Cape and photographs. All these photographs, you have to go like over into this area here, which is, by the way, this area here is where I think we're probably going to see our greatest tornado potential, kind of somewhere in that general area. But further west of NAM3 just indicates that like a terrible environment. Now the GFS, not the Canadian, I want the GFS. That's my bad, I just completely misclicked that. GFS is further east at this time already, although I think this is a couple of hours later, just because, the GFS isn't hourly in pivotal weather. And this is an old run in the GFS. Let's go back to the 18Z. Yeah, so 18Z very similar compared to the 12Z. And then we see some pretty decent photographs across northeastern Texas. Which, I just by looking at this, I think this area here would be the area personally I would want to watch. Maybe, wow, nice, thank you. But generally, the further north you go, because you're closer to the warm front and stuff, you do have better shear this event. Photographs are better, but then even as you go further south, that we get down the Houston area or near Houston, our photographs aren't terrible. Our shear profiles are just actually this isn't bad here. Actually, this is a pretty good sounding. Not gonna lie, very nice looking directional shear there, clear. Hodos, that's a 5% sounding in my opinion, so it kind of goes along with the SPC, slight risk. But I can see a 10 sig already, or not a 10 sig, but at least a 10 Tor already in those areas there. So I kind of think we could see that pretty easily up there. That's just looking at that a little bit. So yeah, then last day I want to talk about for severe weather is day 4. This is Friday morning through Saturday morning, and we're looking at a large 15% risk over the southeast. Let's move over to the southeast. Yeah, so Friday at 12, you're already going to be probably looking at some severe weather in some areas. We take a look at dew points. We can see we have our cold front sort of positioned around right here. So I do want to kind of compare a couple of models here. If we compare this to the European, that's definitely further west than what the GFS had. And I think the GFS did shift further west, or just with a slower front with the latest run. But yeah, we can see those dews in the 60s, a nice warm environment. We take a sounding still. I'm not expecting it to be good Friday morning. But yeah, the shear profiles are interesting though. Look at this. 40 knots of surface to 1 kilometer shear. The thing is we're lacking in stability, but then what really kind of worries me is as you get into the afternoon where we're going to see heating. Okay, you're going to see more instability. By 18Z, we're kind of looking at areas of Georgia, the Carolinas, even up into eastern Tennessee potentially. This is where we started in the Florida Panhandle. And yeah, this is already a decent sounding. Lacking a little bit of the wind profiles we're not seeing. Just generally, we're not seeing a ton of shear with this sounding. Very directional, but instability is good. You could still have a tornado threat out of this for sure. Easy 5% in my opinion. You go further north, particularly sounding near the Columbus area of Georgia as this front moves through. And yeah, up here you see a little bit. You're starting to see a little bit more of that curvature at the Hodo, more sort of surface of 3 kilometers shear. You're seeing more of that in that area, and also the thermodynamics aren't that much worse. And then way up in the northern Georgia, we take a sounding right over Lawrenceville, and shear profiles are even better up here. Hodo looks a little better as well, but then you're starting to lose some of that instability though. That's kind of the issue, is you're going to want to kind of find the middle ground on Friday, kind of where it could be now. So we could be looking at areas like in here where we see the highest tornado potential, but it's going to kind of be where we could see that middle area where you have instability, you have and you get into kind of that deeper shear. Surface-based cabling are higher instabilities, of course, further south. Even in the eastern Tennessee, though, we have instability. Yeah, this is interesting sounding up here. The fact that our winds appear to be backing. Okay. What? Okay, yeah, so what? Okay, that's an interesting photograph. But yeah, so I definitely think the hot spot we're going to see is probably going to be Georgia on Friday. The Florida Panhandle, southeastern Alabama, and I think into South Carolina. We'll also see that threat for Friday afternoon into South Carolina. Look at that. Very good looking sounding in my opinion. You could even see some hail out of that as well. This looks like a rare kind of LP. This doesn't look like just an HP mess like we normally see over the southeast. We first thought this was just take a look at precipitation type off the GFS. We're not just seeing massive blobs of heavy rain everywhere, which is kind of what you see. But I mean, we just take a look at simple things like not Peabody anomalies, precipitable water values. Some areas kind of we do have just some drier air generally, so we could be looking at a little bit more of a like scattered storm day across the southeast, which is more rare. Normally in the southeast we see, like especially this time of year, we just see massive squall lines that kind of just spam tornadoes, especially like southern Georgia, southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, into like the low country of South Carolina. We see that. But this just looks different. Not really regarding areas. This is a similar area to what we normally see with these types of events. Like we're not seeing it in like localized in like upstate South Carolina or something. We're seeing like in generally a similar area, although it's a pretty wide area that we're going to be looking at with that threat. But it just looks more like it doesn't look to be just like an HP mess. It's pretty much what I'm saying. Although it could still trend that way. We'll see. But yes, that's severe weather. I want to go and stop talking about that. Let's move on to winter weather. And I'm going to talk about severe weather again tomorrow. But yeah, so winter weather. We're looking at the GFS. This is Friday at 15Z. This would be set 9 a.m. We're looking at a low right around the St. Louis area. We're starting to see some snow mixing in on the backside in areas of western Missouri. And then throughout the day, Friday, we see slowly starts to mix into northern Illinois, central Illinois as well, especially in like western Illinois. And then by 3 p.m., we're looking at even some bands of heavy snow moving into areas of western Illinois, northeastern Missouri, starting to see wintry precip over into southern Michigan as well. And then that boost that continues throughout Friday night, and it's pretty much gone from this area by Saturday morning, which total snowfall accumulations, we generally see a good couple of inches through Missouri up into central and northern Illinois. We could be looking at a pretty good winter storm for some of those areas. In southern Michigan, where we see higher amounts as well. Total snowfall off the European model is further north. Okay, that's kind of the main thing. We're looking at, instead of this area, or not that area, instead of our axis being like right over there, it's up here. So I'd take areas like Chicago, Peoria out of it and kind of focus it more to the north. The areas will give you even Milwaukee and stuff. So pretty interesting. I don't think. Take a look at the Canadian. Canadian is east. Yeah, we don't see anything in Missouri, but actually not kind of similar to the GFS with that snowfall in southern Michigan. So we'll see about that. But we're going to be looking at probably a decent little winter storm for some areas of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. Just kind of briefly, and then we move to the Northeast. What? Yeah, so I mean, it does indicate a large winter storm for the Northeast. Yeah, so Friday afternoon, we're already looking at some of that snow moving into PA. A lot of sleet issues, though, as you get closer towards the low. And then, yeah, this continues. It's a sleet mess Friday evening across most of New York, or most of southern New York, like all of Connecticut, areas of Long Island. Even some freezing rain coming into central PA there. So a nice little, not impactful winter storm. No, this will probably be pretty impactful for the Northeast. And just like really heavy snow Saturday morning at about 4 a.m. and with just a massive sleet still across like the Hudson Valley into northern PA still, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And then that's all gone by Saturday afternoon. Like, not really. It's kind of gone by Saturday afternoon, but then we're still looking at snow showers on the backside. Total snowfall accumulations from this are pretty significant. We're looking at like over 30 inches apparently in some areas in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. But generally just like over a foot to a foot and a half in some areas is possible throughout New York. And then several inches in northern PA, southeast New York, areas of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, like southern Massachusetts. The European model, let's see if the European model is similar. The European model actually that's a lot less snow. Although I don't think it goes out far enough. But yeah, so the European model is further north. That's something to know. The GFS, once again, further south. The European model's up to the north with that heavier snow. But very similar amounts, so surprisingly. Like a couple pockets of more than 30 inches, about 30 inches if we're being realistic. Although the GFS just has that down here. So we'll see which model wins with this. The GFS has kind of The GFS has been better recently, so we'll see. But the Euro has been better. I mean, both of them are kind of equal in my opinion at this point. The GFS has messed up on several things, and so has the Euro. So we'll see about that. But definitely a good winter storm looking likely for like these areas of the Northeast here. Looking at a pretty significant winter storm. Then areas further south, we could just be looking at several inches of snow. So yeah, now total. I want to take a look at total sleet accumulation just real quick just to see. If the Euro has not as much sleet, I don't think, but we still look at a sleet event in some areas, and the GFS is just I mean, like 2 inches of sleet in some areas. So little bit of a difference there. But either way, we're going to be looking at a mess this weekend in the Northeast, or like Friday, Saturday in the Northeast, at least with wintry weather. So. We'll get more into details with that, of course, tomorrow, because there's still like details to straighten out. Even as we go into Thursday, there'll still be details to straighten out. But yes, thank y'all for watching the video. It's a little bit of a longer video than normal. I appreciate y'all watching it, and I hope you all have an excellent day tomorrow. And I should be back tomorrow.